Hi everyone, I'm Ms. Tan Huey from the Faculty of Art and Design from Southern University College, and our co-authors is Mr. Goh Wee Liang and Ms. Goh Sing Yu from the same faculty. And today we are going to present the paper named the DIALEXA, the Contextual Inquiry for Smarter Travel Translation Tools. Let's go to our first one, the introduction. So for the first introductions, as we all know that the globalization of economies and societies has led to a significant increase in international travel over the past few decades. And in Malaysia in 2024, the tourism sector demonstrated a strong recovery. So with the international tourist arrivals reaching 25 million, reflecting a 24% increase compared to 2023. However, the language barriers continue to be one of the main challenges faced by many international travelers. So, in this case, the objective of these studies are going to investigate the specific challenges and needs faced by travelers in terms of language communications. And the second one is to propose a design solutions that improves the communication experience for travelers. Let's go to our next part, the literature review. So from the beginning, we are going to review the tourism translations in the past few years. So as noted by the researcher, cultural words normally carry symbolic meaning that tie to local traditions, values, and practice. If the translations of the cultural words cannot be presented in the target culture, it can lead to semantic gaps, cultural loss, or even misinterpretations. In this case, it will affect the tourist understanding and engagement with local heritage. So, for the first one, like the a review by the researcher reveals that tourism translation literature from 2002 to 2023 has evolved from basic linguistic studies to a more nuanced explorations of user experience and technological integrations. And other than that, the existing translation systems tends to prioritize the major world language like the Mandarin and English, which make these those less common or regional language underserved. And then the translation needs to go beyond just translate the words from one language to another. It is about the capturing culture, being inclusive, and staying sensitive to the context. So other than that, we're also going to review the existing tools. So for the existing tools, we can divide into three categories. The first is mobile application, the second is hardware device, and the third is the human interpreters. So for the mobile applications, the popular translation apps like the Google Translate have made significant improvements. These apps can translate with up to 95% accuracy. However, it depends on the internet connection for full functionality. The second one, the hardware device, like the Travis Touch, that these kinds of hardware devices have emerged as alternatives to the smartphone apps. However, it also has a limited language pairs compared to the mobile apps. And then the third one is the most traditional methods like hiring the local guides or using the professional interpretation service. But this kind of service is very high cost and limited availability. Other than that, we also going to review the advancement in translation technologies. So in recent advancements in translation technologies, it include the first NMT, the neural machine translations. The second one is the wearable device. So the wearable device including the translation earbuds that can enables the real-time speech translation. The third one is like as demonstrated by the Google's Lens or the World Lens. The AR provides the real-time visual translation of the environmental text. The fourth is the advancement in natural language understanding (NLU). It has been introduced that it has a greater contextual awareness into the translation systems. And the last, the fifth one, is the emerging multimodal systems. It can combine the text, speech, and image data to deliver more comprehensive translation solutions. So in this case, we are going to go through our research methods. So for the third part is our research methodology. We are going to use the contextual inquiry to conduct our research. So for the first one is the participants. The participants, a total of 15 national and international travelers from three different tourist spots in Johor, is including the Johor Bahru Cultural Suites, Pontians, and more participate in these studies. So the participation was voluntary and informed consent was obtained from the participants before the research starts. And when we go for the procedure of the research, so for the procedures, two researchers, each of them equipped with a camera, assume that the distinct roles. One was responsible for observing and recording participants within their natural context, that means within their natural actions, while the other one will pose the clarifying questions or either during or immediately following the activities. So shortly after the observation, a semi-structured interview was conducted. And this semi-structured interview allows the researchers to further examine and contextualize the observations derived from the contextual inquiry phase. And all these data were recorded through the field notes, photographs, and audio logs of the interviews. So the data collections was conducted through the participants' observations and semi-structured interviews within these areas and real travel settings such as transportation hubs, bazaar, restaurants in these three areas. So following is our section 4, data analysis. So for our data analysis, the recorded videos and the semi-structured interviews were analyzed using the same thematic analysis method. The two researchers will independently annotated the videos and conducted the open coding to identify the patterns related to language, communication barriers, user needs, and interaction breakdowns. As you can see from the figure above, initial open coding was conducted to capture the emergence issues observed on spot, and it was followed by the Excel coding to group related teams together across different travel contexts. And after we do the coding, it comes to our findings. So for the findings, after we do the coding and then do all the analysis, we found four different design challenges. Like for example, the first one, the inaccurate translation by the translator. Second one is the translators don't translate accent language. The third one is the misunderstanding, especially when the problem of asking for directions cannot be solved or give the wrong directions. And then the last is like the will spend more time on communication. So some people will feel that inefficient communication is a waste of time. So other than these four design challenges, we also come out the design directions. So in order to address the language communication challenges faced by the travelers, these five design directions are presented. The first one is enhancing real-time and context-aware translation. The second one is to improve the translation accuracy through the contextual and multimodal understanding. The third one is the simplifying the user interface for high-stress travel contexts. The fourth one is the expanding language coverage to include local dialects. And the last is to increase the accessibility through robust offline functionality. So the next one we are going to, based on the findings, based on the result, based on the outcomes of our research methods to come out our design concept. So for the design concept, as you can see from the pictures, it includes the not only the translation but also includes some of the function like the currency exchange and then the image translation and including the language pack. The language pack can be downloaded before you go for any place for travel, and then that one can be used for offline. So other than the functions, is also including the apps design. It's also including the interface. Like for example, the first one, the photo translation, it can be like just take the photos and then it will automatically translate the content from the photos. And the second one is like the smart recording, so it can let you to record first and then go for review after that. And then the third one is the language pack, like what I mentioned just now. You can download different kinds of language pack before you go to the place for travel, so that you can be well prepared before you have no online or you have no network connection. And then the fourth is the like the exchange rate. Sometimes we also need to have know the what is the exchange rate for the place. Other than that, let's go to our discussion. So for the DIALEXA, it is a new concept of travel translation tools. The design of the DIALEXA is directly shaped by the insights from the contextual inquiry, which make it focus on offline usability, real-time translations, dialect support, and smart recording, like what I mentioned just now. By employing the contextual inquiry, the real travel experiences were captured from the scenarios and communication breakdowns, workarounds, and unmet needs that are often overlooked in lab-based evaluations were uncovered. Other than that, it's including the research illustrates the value of contextual inquiry in demonstrating how user-centered design can address the challenges faced by the travelers. So it also guides the design of translation tools that are not only technically function, but also sensitive to situation and cultural experimental factors. So observing the users in real travel context allows us to translate the behavioral insights into actionable design directions and reinforcing the importance of field-based user-centered research for human-computer interaction application. However, there is still some limitation for this study. Limitations of these studies include a relatively small sample size and the focus on specific travel scenarios in Johor, which may not fully represent all international travel contexts. And in addition, the DIALEXA remains a conceptual design. Further evaluation with the implemented prototypes is needed to validate its effectiveness and usabilities in diverse real-world conditions. So it comes to our conclusions. So for our conclusions, this study presents the design concept of DIALEXA, a context-aware travel translation tools informed by the contextual inquiry. Based on the findings, five communication challenges were identified and actionable design directions and the design requirements were also discussed, and it shaped the design of DIALEXA. So the objective of the study were achieved, and the main design features of DIALEXA are reliable offline translation, support for local dialects, and smart recording capabilities that successfully address the critical gaps in existing travel communication tools. That's all for our presentations, and the next one is our reference. And thank you for listening.